I'm here to introduce our next two presenters. They're both FNEC employees. Eve Lapointe has been with the FNEC for 15 years. She's a graduate of Laval University with a multidisciplinary degree, economics, Indigenous studies, and communication. As I said earlier, she's been with us for 15 years and she's worked on several major files, including establishing our college, the Gino Institute. She's also been instrumental in developing other post-secondary programs. And if any of you are familiar with the video technology services in your community, she helped coordinate that as well. Gino Lesage. He's also a Laval graduate, and he graduated with a degree in counseling psychology. Before he came to us, he was working with the Friendship Center in Quebec, and he worked with former students of residential schools. In addition, he also worked coordinating activities around developing parental skills and activities for the youth in the urban areas. So right now, they're our first presenters of the day, and they're going to be talking about the 6 types of parental involvement. So everybody, welcome, and welcome them. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, wow. Rebonjour tout le monde.
Hello again, everyone. So we're breaking the ice. We'll be talking about the 6 types of parental involvement based on George Einstein. I'd like to tell you that I invented that, but it's not the case. Joyce has classified 6 types of parental involvement based on her research. We will go over one by one, we will go over the 6 types. I would like to tell you right away that the 6 types of parental involvement, it's something that is quite technical. And perhaps you won't necessarily recognize yourself in these 6 types, but it gives guidelines and ideas on how you can get involved other than being a parent. So this is the first type of parental involvement, parenting. The second one is communicating. The third one is volunteering. The fourth one is learning at home. The fifth one is decision making, and the sixth one is collaborating with the community. We will look at them one by one to better explain to you what they involved. So what does parenting mean? It is to offer basic needs to your children, is to offer them a dwelling, to make sure that they eat well, to give them health care, to protect them, to provide them with favorable conditions for studying, to have a special place in the home for homework, for example, to love them. It's as simple as that. So probably you already get involved a lot more than you think, because I have to say that parenting involvement is not just the big steps that you take, but it's small daily steps that you do, that you take every day, like making lunch, making sure that the child gets up on time, do homework in the evening, cook supper. So just be a parent. The second type, communicating, is to be aware of the memos and communication that the school is sending, is to answer when it's necessary, is to communicate with the school if needed. The school is very often asking you if there's anything that you need to communicate with them, and they will keep reminding you that they are there for you as well. So communicating allows the child to feel that their parents and the school are surrounding them, monitoring them, when they see that there is a constant communication between the two. The third type is the volunteering. So helping the teachers in the classroom. It could be done in several ways, sometimes at lunchtime, to help them when they leave. Sometimes it's just to clean up. But it can be like participating, helping when the school is organizing activities. So what we're asking you one more time is to let them know that you wish to help out voluntarily, to give a little bit of your time to the school By doing that, you are demonstrating to your child that school is important for you. Learning at home. So this is helping with homework, but encouraging, congratulating, talking with the child about what kind of day he had. This is part of the ways that you can get involved that are very important for the child. Later on in the presentation, I will give you a few tricks for homework, but I'm just going to touch the tip of the subject because there are going to be workshops that will get deeper into the subject. Decision making. So this is when I let you know that parents' committees are extremely important, and it's a very good way for you to get involved, to create, to set up activities, and to keep communication, contact with the school. So when the children see that you belong to a parents' committees, or the parents can see that you have a partnership with the school. So the main idea again is to surround the children so that they can feel supported in their daily school life. Collaborating with the community. So that's the last one, the last type of parental involvement. Something that we want to emphasize at the FNEC. We don't want it to be only the parents and the school that are taking care of the school life of the child, but the entire community. If you know people who have special skills, who can cook, who can do a craft, who can read aloud, pass on cultural components, you can ask them to get involved in the school or during activities. If someone has a special skill, if they play guitar, if they sing, for instance, sometimes you can start activities with these people who have these special talents that they can share. So it allows people who don't have children, the uncles, the aunts, to get involved in the child's school life as well. So just invite people in the community to participate in the school activities. It will benefit everyone. You can make a difference, and they can make a difference in the child's life. So as I was saying before, parental involvement is not just the big steps that you're taking, but it's also the small daily steps that you have to take, and that makes a child's life better. I have a few fun ideas to get better involved, things that you don't necessarily think about. Read a book and act it out, make some kind of play based on the book. That could be interesting for the kids. Maybe you have a hidden talents as an actor and you don't even know about it. Make the grocery list together. Can also be a good way to involve the children in the house, in the home life. You can do some math as well when you look at the grocery list, like how many apples are we going to need this week in this recipe, how many cups of flour do we need, so you could make it fun. Sing your favorite song in the car all together. So you have to be careful with the type of songs that you choose, but it could be something interesting as well.
You're probably an important person to the little child life, and you don't know it. It may not even be your own child. So it's very important to play a role every day, whether it be a parent or not, as an adult, and to be a positive example for our children. It may be someone who's a child of one of your children. It may be a nephew or niece. It may be someone who just walks in front of your house every day and you just smile at him. You may be important for this kid. And just the fact that you remain aware of that is important. I got to pass the microphone now. I almost said my spouse, but I mean more my colleague here. Sorry about that. Thank you, F. I'll talk to you about parental participation, but more in the context of a child who's having problems, be it learning problems or behavioral problems, and also the way that you could be called on for additional services or special educational services in your child's school. So I'll talk to you about your participation in that particular context. And hoping that these slides cooperate. There we go. Parental involvement in the context of children with difficulties. Like with involvement as a whole, it's really a question of trust. And what will really be a determinant factor when you have a problem child, be it a child with a problem or not, it's a question of a relationship between the parents and the school and the child. You know, who are the people at the school who are there to help your child. And so that relationship is important and will really make a difference. The quality of that relationship can make a real difference in the evolution of your child, no matter what level of difficulty he may be in. What I wanted to say here really is that speaking it in general means we hear about children who have children with special needs. And what the parents will sometimes say is that they will feel helpless, really, in front of the child, faced with the child. They feel like impotent. They don't know what to do. There also are parents who, more often than not, have had a difficult experience at in school, who have maybe even suffered through school, their school years, and that is something their history may be very negative. They may also have a bit of a feeling of inferiority when it comes to the workers in school, or even with parents whose children don't have difficulties. So when we're a parent with a child who has problems, we may feel inferior and then isolated also. And also, guilt is something that a lot of parents feel, and it's maybe even more so when we have a child who is experiencing problems, because we feel it's our fault. Also, one of the things that we notice is that these parents are not really that aware of their rights regarding the services offered to the children, because you do have something to say about the services that are offered to your child who's having problems, and we'll see what your rights and roles are later on. And we often see that the parent's point of view is not necessarily taken into consideration from on the part of the school. These generally are some of the things that a parent of a child who is having problems will be faced with. But you can make a difference. It's something that comes back often. And no matter what the child's degree of difficulty, don't forget that you are the expert for your child. You may have a psychologist at school and a speech therapist or whatever there to help the child. You are the first agent in the child's education. And it's important really to make the child feel more confident when he's being into school with that. So your role is important all the time. When a child is having problems, it's really not the time to give up. On the contrary, it's a time that you should be paying more attention to that. So remember, when we go to a parent meeting, say if you're called to school with a child having a problem, you're being called on to help your child and not to evaluate you as a parent. We're not there to evaluate you but really to help you help your child rather. And don't judge too quickly. If you come in with a bit of an open attitude, just be open to what they may tell you about your child. And also your child may not be the same at home as what he is at school. Often, if you think about, when you're at work or in other situations, we're not reacting the same way that we would as we do at home. And it's the same thing with a child in school. Ask questions, give your point of view. by staying open to suggestions. And be open-minded. Avoid being rigid. Don't, think that you're always right and the child is always right or whatever. And also keep in mind the best interest of your child. You can make a difference in that. You just have to believe that you can. A little more specific, your role in an intervention plan. Not necessarily going there to opening to a meeting for an intervention plan. When a school decides really to develop an intervention plan for your child, that means that the child needs to see that the interventions should be coordinated to ensure that his learning evolves. So it involves more than one intervener, and you should be seen as a working tool to follow the progress that a child makes by establishing objectives for learning or behavior, depending on the objectives, how your child will progress in school and so on. Through these objectives, obviously, as the team works with them. But again, you have something to say about what this consists of. Your role really is to really ensure that the child at home, what his attitude is really, his attitude regarding work and homework and so on, where he leaves for school or whatever. And also to participate in schools and to identify potential solutions. You could suggest in the school different aptitudes that you feel, or attitudes you feel are really more effective in dealing with a child. You could suggest doing a follow-up at home, because if you're doing things at school for the child, it's going to be more effective if there's follow-up at home. If there's too much of a difference between school and home, it's going to be difficult for the child to progress. And again, ask questions, ask for examples and so on, how the child behaves in school, in class, and so on. And in a case where the child may have had help previously, perhaps from the outside, obviously inform the school of things that have been done to help the child. And always ask for a copy of the intervention plan. It's your right to have one. Sometimes we don't even think about it, but it's not necessarily a tool which you're going to stay strictly at school. You should have a copy of that, and allow you to be even more participate even more in the intervention plan, EULA, and to help the child in the field because you have a copy of the plan. Any questions at this point? Did you know that? If you talk about an intervention plan a little more specifically with a professional, before any consent must be given before any professional evaluation can be conducted for a child under 14 years of age. So be it an evaluation or a procedure of some form of counseling or psychotherapy. I mean, it's rare that we do psychotherapy at school, but if a child needs long-term follow-up with a professional, be it for just a few meetings or an evaluation or whatever, the school has to ask for your consent for a child under 14 years of age. And for more individual sense, we'll talk about psychologists or a neuropsychologist, a speech therapist, occupational therapist, psychoeducator, or a guidance counselor. In other words, as soon as the professional or all the professionals are a part of a professional society or order, it's a part of the order that the fact that the parent should give his authorization. We also talk about an enlightened authorization also. The teacher has the responsibility to talk about the impact of the intervention that he will have on the child and the impact of not intervening. That's to say, what happens if the intervention takes place and what happens if it does not. So that you can give an enlightened consent, so that you can decide, take the decision, knowing all the potential pluses in that. There are a few exceptions to this requirement for authorization, but the intervention is not necessarily requiring, for example, a group intervention. For example, it's a presentation or an awareness in the classroom for a psychologist or psychologist or whoever comes into class to make some awareness or some small group teaching in a group. We don't need our approval for that because it's not necessarily an intervention which is really on the personal structure or the personality of the child, but rather on general knowledge. Remedial work, for example, which is something in helping a child in re-education and learning language or writing, reading, etc. That's support with that. Again, it's not an intervention which will have a consequence on the development of the child. For example, with a psychologist or a psychoeducator. And an emergency or crisis intervention. Obviously, the psychologist can meet your child when in a crisis situation or an emergency. However, the school has to inform you afterwards. They don't necessarily have to ask you intervention at the time that happens, but afterwards they have to inform you that the child met a psychologist or whatever other intervener because of such and such a situation. In the event of refusal, you can always refuse that the intervention be taken once you have had this enlightened intervention, enlightened on it. The school has to accept your decision. There's no other recourse for that. However, they have to clearly explain the impact of the refusal. Usually it's the professional that do it, but the team, the school team will work into it also. What happens at that point? Is the school going to report to social services, report to youth protection, and so on? That depends on the situation. If your refusal is basically compromises the child's security or his in his development, then there may be a report to social services. If the school feels that the refusal of this intervention is prejudicial to the child, for his development or his safety, and only at these two levels, then they can report to social services, and the school is obliged to do so, even if they're not 100% sure. If there's any doubt, that has to be referred, and then it's up to the social security people to retain the report or not. It's not up to school to decide any next procedures on that. But they have to report it, and if it's determined that it is detrimental to the child for his physical development and so on, and that's relatively rare that happens. It's not particularly frequent. A few tips. So in the context of a child who's having problems that you can participate as a parent. So no matter the degree of difficulty for your child, is believe in his success and have high expectations for it, and not lower expectations or trying to have pity for him or whatever. It's not what's going to be helpful. Have more the attitude of believing in him, of believing in his abilities and his skills, and that he can do more than what you may expect of him. So have high expectations. Celebrate his success. Every time there's a success at school, celebrate it. You don't necessarily have to buy a present or whatever, but to congratulate him and just underline the success rather than the contrary of underlining it than when he has a failure and so on. Every time a child is reinforced in success, the chances of he will continue to have other successes, then that will be increased. And also give him the possibility to take a decision, and to also let him face the consequences of the decisions. And that's not always easy to know he's going to fail or he's not take the right decision, but he nonetheless has to have the chance to make his own way in life and to live with the consequences of the choices that he makes. And a child that on behavior, say for example that you have a child who has a particular behavior in school or with other kids in the school, and that you have to reprimand them. Reprimand the behavior and not the stool, not the student rather, to the child. It's not you that I refuse, that I don't agree with. It's the behavior. Put your emphasis really on the behavior. Is the behavior that has to be upset. Say you tell them that I'm not upset about you, but about the behavior that you're having. Other tips is be consistent. So do what you say. If not, don't say anything. Because students are very, very simple. By the way, I'm a father, and my son or child is not a student. Well, I was talking about a student, so I say student rather than your child. That's part of my professional background, unfortunately. So do what you say, and to give an example for your child. It doesn't do any good to say to your child to do such and something if you're doing the opposite. Make sure they understands what you're saying, what you're asking. Reformulate it and really make sure that, confirm it if you're not sure. Also give your child firm guidelines and instead of something that you're wishing for, rather than saying, oh, gee, Daddy, I'd like really to see you to do such a thing. It would be nice if you picked up your toys and so on. No, that's not the way to do it. You have to be at something, a bit of a waste of time. It really puts a child in a kind of an ambiguous situation. Rather than having clear and firm signals, rather than saying it's time to go to bed, it's time to take your bath, or maybe formulate it as a question, if you will, but have and what they call an alpha demand, which are clear and firm, rather than expressing a wish or a desire. Rather than saying that what a child wants to do is not to do something right, but rather to please you. And that's not the best way to do a child to develop, particularly a child who is having behavioral problems. And even that could encourage manipulation on the part of the child. And we would develop that as a strategy for getting what he wants in life. Rather saying it's time to go to bed, rather than saying I'd like you to go to bed. That's something that we often do. Some other tips. The clearer it is for you, the more clear it is in your mind, the clearer it will be for your child. So, as I said earlier, this comes back a little bit to what we said earlier. If you don't do what you say, then the child is not going to do what you're not. So again, if you're not sure in your mind of what you're saying, maybe wait until it becomes clear for you. Because the clearer it is for you, the clearer it's going to be for the child. You can't expect the child to understand something that you don't understand. We encourage behavior rather than punishing disobedience. Again, the question of encouraging success. When the child does something that is good, then again encourage it. Again, speaking in the first person, saying I, rather than saying Dad or Mom or whatever. Saying I. Say that in the experience when you say I, the other one, the person you're speaking to also is encouraged to use the I and feels using the I, and it makes it more of an equal a relationship on the same level. Except to your spouse, for example, it has differences on different ways of doing and saying things. The mother and father are not necessarily going to have the same ways of talking to a child or educating a child. We have to agree, obviously, on some things, but also don't necessarily agree that you're going to be better with another one than your spouse. Obviously, if you don't agree on the education of a child, then the child is going to take advantage of that and play one against the other all the time with that. So you should at least agree on the foundation, on the essential points. And also remember, our children are watching, and they'll learn an awful lot by imitating us and by just paying attention to what we're doing. So there we go. Thank you very much. Merci. Miigwech.